Beneath the thin, fragile veil of our modern age, the North African landscape breathes with the rhythm of an older, harder time. We begin in the quiet, dust-moted stillness of dawn, high above the plains of Missoura, where the earth itself seems to hold its breath. As our vantage point descends, 168 monoliths emerge from the mist like silent, jagged teeth biting into the horizon. This is not merely a ruin, it is a primal anchor. These are the stones of the ancestors, a Neolithic testament to a people who did not merely inhabit the land, but who were forged by it. Legend whispers of Antaeus, the giant king whose strength surged directly from the soil whenever his feet touched the dust, only to be lifted and broken by the celestial might of Hercules. It is a myth, yes, but in its bones we find the truth of the Masaesyli and the Massylii, the indigenous masters of this vast, sun-scorched theatre. Before Carthage rose to power, before the Punic Wars scarred the earth, these tribes moved through the heat like shadows, binding their fates to the cycles of the moon and the pulse of the soil. Here, in the sharp, thin air of the morning, we smell the ancient scent of dry scrub and granite, heated by a sun that has watched empires crumble, while these stones remained unmoved, waiting for us to remember them. From the shifting sands of time, we emerge into a landscape far more complex than the chronicles of antiquity would lead us to believe. To the eyes of Greek and Roman chroniclers, these lands were the domain of the Numidiae, the Nomads, a title cast upon the people like a shroud to simplify a reality that escaped them. Yet, as we trace the arid plains, the horizon reveals a different truth, not of wandering spirits, but of an anchored, vibrant civilization. Imagine, if you will, the sudden bloom of life against the harsh granite, a society of high-energy, vegetarian cultivators, whose heartbeat was not in the chaos of migration, but in the deliberate architecture of permanence. Look upon the silent stones of Thuga, where archaeological remnants defy the ancient misnomers, whispering of urban centres and a sophisticated order that thrived long before the ink of foreign historians sought to diminish it. We are unearthing the Masaesyli and the Massylii, not as footnotes, but as masters of their own destiny. If these echoes of the past resonate with your own search for truth, consider subscribing to join our journey, for every voice added to this exploration helps to restore the clarity of a history long obscured by the shadows of empire. Beneath this sun, the past is not merely stone and dust. It is a testament, waiting for us to finally see it as it truly was. To gaze upon the North African horizon is to witness a theatre of shifting loyalties and unparalleled tactical genius. Here, the Numidian tribes, the Masaesyli and the Massylii, were not merely inhabitants of a rugged landscape, but masters of a lethal, fluid art form that transformed the nature of ancient warfare. Imagine the heat shimmering off the dust-choked plains as a silent, rolling thunder approaches. It is the sound of thousands of hooves striking the earth in a rhythmic, terrifying cadence. Yet there is no creak of leather, no rattle of heavy tack. These riders move with their mounts as a single living entity, steering solely by the shift of a knee, with the sharp command of a human voice, guiding steeds held only by a simple rope. They appear like phantoms on the periphery of the great empires, striking with pinpoint, javelin-tipped precision before vanishing into the haze as quickly as they materialized. It was a terrifying grace that made them the most coveted mercenaries in the Mediterranean. Yet, behind this martial perfection lay a crucible of impossible choices. To serve Carthage or Rome was to play a high-stakes game of survival, where the fate of one's own people was caught in the crushing gears of foreign titans. Kings like Masinissa and Syphax were forced to navigate the treacherous currents of shifting alliances, often pitting brother against brother in conflicts that were not their own. They were men standing at the epicenter of history, clinging to their independence, while the very soil beneath their feet was bartered away by the desperate ambitions of empires long since turned to dust. Yet, in the shadow of these crumbling alliances, one man saw not the decay of empires, but the forge of a new identity. Masinissa. A prince of the Massylii, he was once but a pawn in the high-stakes game of Mediterranean giants, maneuvering through the dust and heat of North Africa with the sharp intuition of a predator. At Cirta, the air was thick with the scent of sun-baked earth and the metallic tang of impending blood. But for Masinissa, it was a moment of profound clarity, a pivot that would alter the destiny of a continent. He turned his back on the desperate, failing grip of Carthage, choosing instead to tether his future to the rising sun of Rome. It was a cold, calculated chess move, the decision of a king who understood that independence is not a gift, but a prize won by those who dictate the terms of their own survival. As the dust settled upon the battlefield of Zama, the tribal warlord began to vanish, replaced by a monarch with the vision of an architect. He did not merely rule, he built. From the rugged hills to the bustling ports of Rusicada, he raised cities and monuments of stone that reached for the sky, anchoring his people to the soil with the permanence of history itself. He transformed a patchwork of nomadic tribes into a unified, thriving kingdom, proving that even in the wake of great wars, the heartbeat of a nation can be found not in the wreckage of empires, but in the enduring legacy of a throne. Yet, beneath this grand tapestry of statecraft and monument building lay the sharp, cold edge of imperial ambition. For a kingdom is not merely the sum of its borders, it is the lives and the sacrifices of those bound to its survival. Nowhere was the brutal cost of Roman protection more visible than in the quiet, stifling air of a private chamber, where Sophonisba stood caught between the tides of two colliding worlds. She was a daughter of Carthage, a queen of Numidia, and now a trophy demanded by the iron fist of Rome. The heavy scent of cedar and parched earth hung in the room, as Masinissa, her husband and king, extended a trembling hand. In his palm rested a small, sealed vial, the final instrument of a loyalty that could not be reconciled with the Senate's decree. To submit to Rome was to parade her shame through the streets of the victors. To drink was to reclaim her dignity in the silence of death. As she looked upon the vessel, the weight of a vanishing nation seemed to settle upon her shoulders, a testament to how foreign powers, from the distant marble halls of the Mediterranean, held the power to dictate the final chapters of the Numidian spirit. It is in these intimate, devastating moments that the true geography of power is revealed, a map drawn not in ink, but in the heartbreaks of the dispossessed. If these echoes of the past resonate with you, if you feel the silent stories of the ancient world deserve a voice in our own, consider joining our journey and subscribing. Your support allows us to peer deeper into the shadows of history, bringing the lost narratives of humanity back into the light, one story at a time.
Yet even as we illuminate these forgotten echoes, we must confront the cold, sharp reality of power as it shifts, like sand in a desert wind. The kingdom of Numidia, once a sprawling expanse of sovereign pride, found itself increasingly strangled by the tightening grip of Rome. Into this precarious twilight stepped Jugurtha, a man of fierce intellect and dangerous ambition. His rise was meteoric, a masterclass in survival that soon curdled into the bitter taste of betrayal. As he played a desperate, high-stakes game against the Senate, the very foundations of his ancestral home began to tremble. Watch the maps. See how the borders recoil. Beneath the heat of the North African sun, the once mighty Numidian territory is sliced away, piece by measured piece, to appease a Roman hunger that could never be satisfied. The scent of ozone and iron fills the air, as ancient treaties are shredded like dry parchment. It was a systematic carving, an erasure of borders, where kings were replaced by puppets, and sovereignty dissolved into the dust of Roman bureaucracy. Betrayal became the coin of the realm. Former allies like Bocchus of Mauritania traded loyalty for scraps of the dying kingdom, accelerating the inevitable decline. The proud, rider-born people, who had once dictated the terms of their own fate, found themselves mere witnesses to the slow, agonizing contraction of their world. Until at last, the map of Numidia faded entirely into the sprawling grey tapestry of the Roman province, leaving only the silence of ruins and the whispers of a memory left to the wind. Yet, even as the drums of war faded into the sterile administrative silence of the Roman province, a different kind of dawn broke over the North African coast. The sword was set aside, replaced by the quill and the compass. Under the calculated grace of Augustus Caesar, a new kind of sovereign emerged, the scholar king, Juba II. Beside him walked Cleopatra Selene II, a woman who carried the blood of Egypt's last pharaohs and the sophisticated weight of the Hellenistic world. They did not seek to reclaim the lost martial glory of their ancestors. Instead, they sought a different kind of dominion, one built upon the permanence of intellect. In the cool limestone silence of their court, the air smelled of cedarwood, vellum, and the sharp, clean scent of the Mediterranean salt breeze. This was not a kingdom of charging cavalry, but of libraries, botanical gardens, and the measured beauty of geometry. As we peer through the shifting sands of time, we see the rise of the royal mausoleum at Tipasa, a staggering architectural testament to their synthesis of cultures. Imagine, if you will, the structure rising from the hillside, its stones glowing like honey in the dying light of a North African afternoon. It is a masterpiece of precision, blending the ancient tumuli of the Numidian plains with the refined, soaring aspirations of Roman engineering. In these hallowed halls, where philosophy was debated and the secrets of the natural world were catalogued, the Numidian identity found a sanctuary, surviving for a fleeting golden moment in the pages of books rather than the blood of the battlefield.
Yet, as the Roman ink dried, the Numidian voice began to fade, muffled by the relentless tide of imperial expansion. It is a haunting truth that the kingdom of Masinissa, once a vibrant tapestry of horsemen and scholars, was slowly erased from the collective memory of the Mediterranean, reduced by the pens of victors to a mere footnote in a larger Roman epic. We are left with only fragments, the haunting, angular geometry of the Tifinagh script, etched into stone like a half-remembered prayer, and the silent, imposing ruins of Madrasan, monuments that stand as solitary sentinels against the encroaching silence of time. These sites, so rich with the potential to rewrite our understanding of the ancient world, remain cloaked in mystery, understudied and overlooked by the modern gaze. If these echoes of the past resonate with you, if you feel the pull of a history that refuses to be forgotten, consider becoming a member to support our ongoing journey into the archives of time. For it is only through our collective stewardship that these silent stories can be heard once more. We turn our eyes to the horizon, where the wind hums against the dunes of the vast Sahara, a landscape that guards its secrets with a stoic, shifting grace. What forgotten chronicles lie buried beneath those endless golden waves? What names, what songs, what wisdom of the Masaesyli remain hidden in the sands, waiting for a day that may never come? The history of Numidia is not truly finished. It is simply waiting for us to listen.